Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's November 11th, 2021. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day. And Matt, I thought we would talk about something a little different this morning. I mean, we obviously Miami, Florida State week, and it's a really good time to take a look at the state of affairs in the state of Florida, with the Gators struggling, Florida State bringing a 3-6 record into this game against Miami Saturday after going 3-6 a year ago, and really Miami with a 3-game win streak and the chance to make it 4 against Florida State and maybe 6 before the end of the season. As astonishing as all this would be, really might have a chance to claim superiority in the state of Florida, believe it or not. And what that means for the future and Manny Diaz's future and everything else, we don't know yet, but that's certainly out there right now for the Miami Hurricanes. And so we take a look this morning at the struggles that the Big Three in the state of Florida are having, keeping the best players in the state of Florida home. And I don't think there's any question, Matt, that those challenges that these three programs have been having have played in recruiting, have played a huge role in that the last several seasons. And you look at the Gators. I mean, it seemed like they were on the upswing. Now they're on the downswing. They're having a hard time against Power 5 SEC competition. I mentioned Florida State and the ups and downs they've been having. And then, of course, Miami. And right now, it's not looking like it's going to get any better in this current cycle. Matt, your thoughts on all this? You've crunched the numbers. You've taken a look at this. Your thoughts on the overall state of affairs in the state of Florida in terms of these three programs recruiting the best players?
Yeah, well, I mean, recruiting has changed, right? Like, it used to be, if you were the top dog in the state of Florida, like, you were getting the top kids from the state of Florida. Like, that was just the way it was. And as you look at these numbers, it used to be, just based on the numbers we crunched, it used to be about 2/3 of the top 15 kids in state would stay in state. And now it's 1/3. So, is that a reflection of the in-state schools not doing as well over the last, 5 years that we looked at? Possibly. But, as you read that story, I would encourage everyone not just look at the numbers, but I really thought, and the reason I put the quotes in, it wasn't really a story that was meant to have a quote from a high school coach about it. It was meant to just be numbers crunching. But I was just chatting with, the Homestead coach, Philip Simpson, about a couple of his players, and I just brought this up, and man, he hit it on the head. So I would encourage everyone to look at what he said. I mean, his words, he's been coaching for almost a decade down here. Like, he knows what it was and what it should be for the local programs. And when he says Miami and FSU used to be a brand like Coca-Cola and Nike, that everyone wanted to be part of that brand, and that the brand's diluted, like, there's no better way to put it. I mean, the numbers reflect what he said, and I didn't even give him the numbers. I just said, you see your kids going out of state, like, what do you think? Like, why is it happening? And like, he just went on and on, like, with pure gold, like he'd been thinking about it for years, like, so, read the story. I encourage everyone to read the story. It speaks for itself. Like, there's nothing I can, Gary and I, we put our spin on things. I try to speak the truth as I know it. Sometimes people don't like it, because it maybe doesn't reflect on what they're hoping to hear.
No, they like it, man. You got a growing fan club out there.
Yeah, right. But listen, this is just numbers. Like, this is just numbers. You can't argue with math. So read the story, and you'll see for yourself it's not just a Miami problem. It's a Florida problem. It's a Florida State problem. It's a state of Florida problem. Now, is it because the kids are different? Is it because the out-of-state programs are doing better? Like, that's to be determined. But the luster is off Miami, Florida State, and Florida. It just is. And it's got to change, because you can't have 2/3 of the top 15 kids every year in the state of Florida going out of state. Like, slim pickings for the in-state schools when that happens, man.
But you say that, and I don't disagree. But I will point out one thing: ESPN picked this game for the 3:30 slot, and is showing it nationally on ESPN. So that means they think there's still plenty of people out there that want to watch Miami and Florida State, that remember what this game once meant, and they're counting on them tuning in on Saturday, and they probably will. I mean, the U is still, hasn't killed its brand totally yet. I mean, there's still hope that it can revive.
Why would you ever think Miami FSU should never be a regional game? Are you kidding me? Like, that's got nothing to do with the numbers. I mean, that's just like a rivalry. A rivalry game for Miami better be a national game.
I mean,
the rivalry game every year.
They clearly
you may as well say every Miami game should be at regional then, because if Miami FSU is not national, no game will be. Like, Miami, forget about it. Like, you're saying,
but that's my point. Like, ESPN chose it for their 3:30 slot. I mean, that's
it better be. Why wouldn't it be?
But that's like amazing when you look at the Florida State's 3 and 6 and Miami's, right now nowhere.
The records don't matter, man. People want to see passion. This game is about passion, not records.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That they're still putting it in a prime slot.
It always will be. They could be 0-8. Listen, it's always going to be a national game. If it's not, like, the program's dead. You may as well just, like, throw it in the trash can,
So anyway, so they will have center stage. I don't know what impact that's going to have on recruiting, win or lose. And, maybe the team that wins might get an extra player or two in recruiting this year. Florida State's been doing a little bit better than Miami. Maybe with a victory, Miami can close that gap a little bit. We'll see what happens. But the bottom line is all 3 in-state schools are struggling right now to keep the best players in the state of Florida home. And we give you a real comprehensive look at that this morning on the website. All right, Matt, another thing for us to talk about relates to the transfer portal and Mark Pope, and we've got a story with Mark talking a little bit about his experience at Miami, how he ended up in the transfer portal after being a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. And it's applicable because you also had the Gervin Hall and Bradley Jennings exodus into the transfer portal this week, and going to the transfer portal is kind of in vogue. So I encourage everybody to check out that Mark Pope story if you haven't already. That's on the website, and it kind of give you a little insight into the thinking of a kid that chose to go to the portal. And Matt, we spent some time with Mark, and seemed like a kid that really had his thoughts all together. And he comes out of Southridge High. He's a 5-star. That was a lot of pressure. Let's be honest. I mean, South Florida is expecting him to be a superstar at Miami, and it just never came close to playing out that way. And he admits that a lot of it got to his head, and it was a lot of pressure trying to live up to being Mark Pope. Would you agree with that?
Here's what I don't understand this part. Like, they literally have people on staff, mental health people, like, who are do this for a living, who are and sports psychologists. Like, this shouldn't happen where he feels like one play and that's determining his future. Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't look. We both spoke to him. It's like sort of rude to say, we don't understand. Like, why were you so mentally soft? Yeah. But like, that's what happened. But listen, I like Mark. You could hear the pain in his voice. It's sad that they weren't able to get him to understand that whole thing about, listen, everyone drops a pass. You put it behind you. Like, they used to have the Fido thing, right? Forget it, drive on. Like, that was a thing for years at Miami when they were great. They actually would say Fido. You come to the sidelines after a bad play, Fido. Forget it. Don't worry about it, man. Just move on. But it obviously lingered with him. They, for whatever reason, I mean, he didn't mention whether he sought help for it or didn't, but coaches, I'm sure, were aware it was a problem. It was never fixed over 4 years, this mental issue he had. But, to me, the most interesting part wasn't talking to Mark, because there's a lot of kids that have transferred now. It was researching the story for Mark. And we do this, we sort of lump it all together with our, what do we call it? When we look closely at the program over the summer, I don't know what you label it.
State of the U.
State of the U. So over the State of the U, you sort of lump it all together, and you see, sort of every class, you're sort of just grinding, trying to get everything, all this stuff in there. But, just looking at that 2018 class, man, I mean, the 2 5-stars were gone, Lorenzo after 2 years, I think, and now Mark. And what struck me when I added up the numbers, 23 signees in that class. These are the guys who would be in their 4th year at Miami, the backbone of the program.
Yep.
And I was shocked that 11 of the 23 have already transferred.
Yep.
That's not even including the guys that left early to go pro, the Gregory Rousseau and Brevin Jordan, whatever. So 11 transferred out. And there's 3 players from that 23 strong class that'll be starting against FSU and another 3 in the 2 deep. So, there's basically more true freshmen making an impact right now than 4th-year guys in this class that was supposed to be so amazing when they signed it. That was supposed to be an amazing class, 2 5-stars, 1 million 4-stars. It was supposed to be great by the time they were 4th-year players. 3rd and 4th year, that's when this was all going to hit. That's when it normally hits for these guys,
It's like being on self-imposed probation. I've used that term many times. I mean, it really is.
You're right.
When you're blowing half a recruiting class, I mean, you're like, it's like you've had yourself on probation.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So, I mean, that shocked me. And, what I thought we maybe would get from Mark was a little bit more about maybe the culture of what's going on with, BJ leaving, him leaving, D. Wiggins leaving. I mean, all these guys, it's unprecedented to have so many guys leave during the season, right? Just stick it out. Like, what's the harm of sticking it out? Because you're not transferring a program tomorrow. If you leave the program after the bowl game, you still have January, February, March, whatever. I mean, if you want to enroll in January, fine, I get it. But still, the bowl game's going to be, in December. You can go in the portal in December if you don't want to play in the bowl game just after the season. You got plenty of time to find a new home. To leave in October, November, I don't get it. Why don't you just finish out the season with your teammates? Yeah. So he didn't really address that. I think you were the one who asked him, why did you want to leave now? And he's just didn't really answer. He says he didn't really want to talk about it further than just the comments we had in the story.
Well, he wasn't playing. I don't think he had
playing.
a play. He didn't have a play this year.
Right, but he's a football player, right? The first thing you teach a football player is never quit. That's the first thing when you're in Pop Warner.
But this one bothers me a lot less than Gervin Hall and Bradley Jennings. Those guys
bother me.
Those guys are really walking out.
They all bother me. You don't quit on your team. You just don't. That's the first thing they teach you when you're a kid. Yeah. You don't quit on your team. Playing, not playing, hurt, not hurt, whatever. You still show up. That's just what a football player is supposed to do. And a football player is not what it used to be. Now football players like the tennis players I play against who, I'm beating them pretty good. And they're like, oh, I got a cramp. I got to go home. I got a cramp.
I had a friend like that in high school. Every time, always some type of injury or something came up when you were winning. It was
right. So that's what this is now. It's things aren't going their way. I quit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I understand why people don't feel for Mark and don't feel for these other guys. But listen, if you actually talk to Mark, you feel for the kid. He was supposed to be head of the NFL after this year, and instead he's going to Jackson State or somewhere.
I think he'll do better than that. But
I hope so. I hope so for his sake. But listen, if he wants to go somewhere and play right away, he may have to go to Jackson State. I don't know.
Or he could do like N'Kosi Perry, go to FAU or FIU or something. Maybe.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got that story this morning. We've also got a look at the unprecedented run of close games that Miami's been playing this year. And Matt, I think there's another one coming Saturday. I really do. Florida State has been better this year. It hasn't all there's always something. 27 players get the flu before their game last week. I mean, there's just always been something that has slowed them down from a breakthrough victory. And I'm expecting Saturday's game to be a knockdown dragout for 4 quarters. Maybe I'll be wrong. If somebody wins convincingly, I think it'll be Miami. But, I think Florida State's defense is going to give the Hurricane offense problems. I think the matchup at the line of scrimmage is good for Florida State, not as good for Miami. And, the thing that's going to be really interesting to me in this game is that with Florida State being a run-first team, Manny Diaz figures to stack the box like he's been doing in recent weeks. Can Florida State's offense and quarterback Jordan Travis hit big plays over the top against the Hurricane defense? That'll be something to watch going forward. We talk a little bit about the unprecedented run of close games for Miami as well today. All right. If you missed the Lamar Thomas show last night, it was a hoot. Make sure you check out the replay. That's on the website today. We've got our countdown, the kickoff show. Gene Williams, warchant.com, provides incredible insight into Florida State. If you want to get yourself ready for Saturday's game, have a little bit better understanding of what's going to be going on out there, you can watch that. Miami picked up a signing in basketball yesterday from a big man, a center, Favor Air, who's a 4-star kid, really good center with skills. That gives them a recruiting class, Matt, that I think is going to be in the top 15 or 20, somewhere in there. Great recruiting class for Jim Larinaga and Canes basketball. And they won their first game on Wednesday night against, I can't even remember the name, Cornelius or whatever the heck it was. A better team than you would think if considering their name. I mean, you think of Cornelius or whatever however you pronounce it, like you're thinking, they can't be any good. Line was 15 points. They gave Miami a tussle, like they really did. And it was a good first game for the Hurricanes because they did have to play and they were extended and they had to use their rotations and things like that. They ended up winning by 10. So good start to the year for Canes basketball, which also gets to bring home a great recruiting class with the 4 signees that are all signed, sealed, and delivered on the signing day period yesterday. So, Matt, I think that's it for today. A lot for people to dive into. We'll have also our You Bet CaneSport with Lee Sterling coming on the site later this afternoon. Lee will break down this Miami-Florida State game from a betting perspective. That's always fun. And we'll come back at you guys tomorrow morning with another Good Morning CaneSport. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We thank you for joining us once again on Good Morning CaneSport, and have a great day, everybody.